hamdo sana usi ko.
Once again, about 2,000 Ahmadi Muslims gathered at the Baitul Hamid Mosque in Chino, California, to attend the annual Jalsa Salana West Coast at the end of December 2024. The Jalsa officially commenced with the hoisting of Liwai Ahmadiyat by respected Sahibzada Mirza Maghfur Ahmad Sahib, Amir Jamaat USA, followed by the opening session in which he emphasized the need to strengthen our commitment to our faith over the world.
If we want to be chosen people, if we want to be distinguished from the rest of the world, if we want to stand out as a community of spiritual people, then we have to give up for God and go forward. Then I tell you truly that you will become a chosen people of God.
The theme of this year's Jalsa Salana was Qualities of the Believers, highlighting the many wonderful attributes of true believers as mentioned in the opening verses of Surah Al-Mu'minun. This theme echoed in the speeches delivered throughout the 3 days.
Khushu is described in the Holy Quran as a defining trait for true believers. Again, successful indeed are the believers, those who humble themselves in their prayers.
According to the Ahadith, the day that alcohol was made forbidden, the streets of Medina were flowing with wine, like water running off from a storm. Soon, the bars were deserted, and the liquor stores were locked up. This was the power of the Holy Quran, to transform a society in an instant, something that years of prohibition campaigns in the United States could not accomplish.
It's important to understand that one does not simply fall into the grasp of addiction instantly. Often it starts off as small things that give us pleasure and over time grow into the storm of addiction. They may be small sins that then become bigger sins. The Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has warned us against small sins, describing them as a kindling that ignites a destructive fire.
Zakat is the third step towards achieving success as a believer. It follows khashi'un, being humble in prayer and avoiding vain pursuits. Zakat is essential for strengthening our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our responsibility as Muslims is to embrace this spirit of giving.
A spouse, it's not just someone who changes how we find delight in this world, but it's someone who changes how we traverse the struggles, the trials, the tribulations of this very life. The promised Messiah, ﷺ, he taught that marriage is intended to relieve us the anguish of loneliness by fostering a deep mutual attachment between spouses.
The Holy Quran uses the metaphor of a lamp in which Allah is the light, His prophets are the glass that covers and safeguards that light. And Khilafat is the reflector that magnifies and spreads the divine light. In this understanding, Khilafat is nothing but a God-given mechanism for amplifying and magnifying the message of Allah Ta'ala after the death of His prophets, to spread and complete the mission of His prophets.
A special guest session was held on Saturday evening, which was attended by nearly 200 external guests, including local and state government officials, members of local law enforcement, professors, university students, and interfaith congregations.
While I am not a Muslim, I share the common bond with you as a person of faith to promote compassion and peace among all people. We should work together to end human suffering. That's why I commend your voice for peace.
From the genocide in Gaza to the conflicts throughout the world, what is happening that is causing these conflicts? It's the physical power, it's the physical need for material or the greed for materials. And today what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell everyone that's not what's important.
You lead by your example, not just by words. You serve the needy and the homeless in our local communities. And I commend your Jalsa Cares initiative and welcome the chance to work with all of you in Moreno Valley and beyond.
So we all have something in common, a common mission and a common thread. One is to provide human security for one another as a neighbor, and as audience members, we have an obligation to one another in this room to provide neighborly needs. So my call to action as an organizer is for us to build local power so we can help those locally and internationally.
To see the world with kindness, to embrace compassion, and to insist together that we can build a different world, a world of justice, if we just lift up our heads enough to pause, bear witness, see with kindness, and find the other in ourselves.
The keynote address entitled Fostering Compassion and Peace in Times of Conflict was delivered by Amjad Mahmood Khan Sahib, serving as National Secretary, Public Affairs for USA Jamaat.
For nearly 2 decades, the global head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, has repeatedly warned of the perils of a third world war. In times of such turbulence, such turbulent conflict, each of us in this room plays a critical role in alleviating tensions and fostering compassion. My talk this evening provides an Islamic perspective on this topic. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's teachings on the laws of war provide an ethical framework for warfare that was far ahead of its time. And these principles, which are derived from the Quran, mandate the protection of civilians, prisoners, and even animals during conflict. This emphasis on justice and restraint underscores Islam's commitment to peace and human dignity. These comprehensive principles align with broader humanitarian values and the ideas of proportionality and distinction in warfare, which are also enshrined in modern international humanitarian law. In fact, one can argue that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's laws of war were the precursor for the modern-day Geneva Conventions.
This spiritually uplifting weekend was a chance for Jamaat members, male and female, young and old, to strengthen their bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood and to increase their religious knowledge from the faith-inspiring speeches, booths, workshops, and many ancillary evening sessions. A group of Ansar had a special journey to Jalsa, arriving at Jalsa Gah by approximately 60-mile bike ride from Santa Monica, LA. Hundreds of dedicated volunteers served around the clock to ensure all the guests of the promised Messiah ﷺ were warmly welcomed and provided all the necessary arrangements. For those who were not able to attend in person, MTA USA streamed live coverage of the Jalsa sessions as well as interviews with guests, sharing the blessings of Jalsa with viewers at home. The day before the Jalsa started, members of the Jamaat organized the annual Jalsa Cares program to serve the local community. This year they partnered with God's Pantry in Pomona to help pack 250 food cartons to supply nearly 4,000 meals for needy families. By the grace of Allah, this was another example of how the blessings of Jalsa benefit the wider community. Reports of this Khidmat-e-Khalq program reached 6.5 million people across Southern California through many newspapers. The highlight of the event was on Sunday, when Jalsa attendees listened to repeat coverage of the closing address of Jalsa Salana Qadian delivered by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V, may Allah be his helper, which was recorded earlier on Sunday morning. Beloved Huzur, may Allah be his helper, graciously mentioned the Jalsa Salana West Coast USA, at the end of his address, amongst a list of many other countries holding their Jalsa over the same weekend.
इस वक्त हमारे कादियान के इस जलसे के साथ दुनिया के मुख्तलिफ ममालिक में जलसे हो रहे हैं, बाज़ की तस्वीर दिखाई जा रही हैं। इनमें टोगो में जलसा हो रहा है, माली में जलसा सलाना हो रहा है, आज उनका आखिरी दिन है। बुर्किना फासो में हो रहा है, उनका भी आखिरी दिन है। गिनी कुनाकरी में जलसा हो रहा है, उनका भी आखिरी दिन है। नाइजर में जलसा हो रहा है, इनका भी आखिरी दिन है। सेनेगाल में हो रहा है, इनका भी आखिरी दिन है। गिनी बसाओ में हो रहा है, अमेरिका के वेस्ट कोस्ट में जलसा हो रहा है। ये सब जलसे जो जलसा सलाना हो रहे हैं, ये सब इसलिए यहाँ जमा है कि हज़रत मसीह अलैहिस्सलाम के पैगाम को समझें और दुनिया में पहचानने की कोशिश करें और अपनी इस्लाह करने की भी कोशिश करें। अल्लाह ताला इन सब को इसकी तौफीक अता फरमाए और वो सब बरक़ात लेकर जलसे पर जाएँ जिन बरक़ात के लेने के लिए उस जलसे में शामिल हुए हैं।
May Allah the Almighty accept the humble efforts of all the dedicated Jalsa workers and enable all the attendees to derive maximum spiritual and moral benefit from this blessed event. Ameen. This is Umar Farooq reporting for MTA International USA Studios.
जलसे में